Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hope everybody is well, and another fantastic week of racing is upon us. York Ebor week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 days of incredible action on the Knavesmire. What a time for horse racing it is this week. Judmonte International Day is Wednesday. I will be there on Wednesday watching what is going to be one of the biggest races of the year, unquestionably, certainly on the flat track. City of Troy returns, but there's lots of other races going on Wednesday. I've got quite a few picks for you today. We're also going to look ahead to the rest of the week with Thursday, Friday and Saturday selections for the big races on those days. So with no further ado, let's take a look at our first selection for Wednesday. We start at York on Wednesday, 10-2, fast and furious, just over 5 furlongs this. It's the Symphony Group handicap, lots of runners, look out for extra places, wide open field, Holcombe Bay, 6-7-1 around that price currently with Pilgrim and Chagrin, similar prices. Let's say wide open when the favourite is around 6 or 7-1. Silky Wilkie in the race, he could go well. JM Jungle, T-Spirit looking for Linger. Jordan Electrics will be popular, I'm sure, at a big price, as will Bergerac, and we would like a couple of others at big prices as well. Copper Knight, I'm sure he will be popular. He's the veteran of the field, 10 years old now, has had countless successes out on the Knavesmire. He loves this track. I think his mark is okay. Of course, he's getting on a bit now. His mark looks okay, though, I think. Has had a couple of decent runs this year as well, including at York back in May, where he was off a very similar mark and finished third out of 12 in a class 2 over the same distance. So certainly one to bear in mind given all his previous past success. Not brilliant last couple of starts, but did have a win at Chester also back in June. I just feel at 16-1, given his course record and given his mark looks okay, you've got to think that with some extra places there is some value there. Of course, his age is a concern as he gets a bit older. He's becoming a real veteran, but certainly like that price. Copper Knight 16-1. And one at an even bigger price, Vintage Clarets. Really interesting. This horse has had a terrible year so far, barring one decent performance at Chester back in May. That was the festival there at the start of May, the start of the season, the Stella handicap, but a pretty good run there. But aside from that, it's had a pretty stinky season. So why is Vintage Clarets a decent punt in this race? Well, looks to be off a really decent mark, way below his last winning mark, 9 stone he'll be carrying for this race. And at 25-1, you feel, well, at that type of price, you know, certainly his potential. And last year he had a really decent year, won at York with carrying 9-3 in a similar type of race to this. That was back in September, and also had a really decent run back in August at this festival and at this race, finishing just behind Copper Knight. Actually finished 6th out of 20 runners in this race, with very similar weight. I think 9-1 that day. He'll have 9 on him on Wednesday. So that type of price, 25-1, if you can show anything of what he was showing last year, Vintage Clarets has to be some value there. You never know. They may just be going through a real rough period, but I just feel at that price, 25-1, Vintage Clarets has to be worth a little nibble. Best of luck if you're having a bet at on the first at York even. Right, Tatterstall Acomb Stakes next, 2:25. It's the second race on Wednesday at York. Really, really interesting race. This one over the 7 furlongs. Ruling Court, trained by Charlie Appleby, heads the market, evens. A lot of people seeing this as a 2-horse race between Ruling Court and the Lion in Winter. Lion in Winter is around 2-1. And that's the way a lot of people will be playing, I would imagine. But we're going for each way value here. We're going for a really interesting runner here. Mr. Chaplin finished off like an absolute train last time out at Goodwood, winning there in a Class 2. It was the Jaeger Le Nursery. There was 16 runners there. He was way back in the field. Had a terrible passage, but stayed on like an absolute train towards the end to sneak up and win by a neck, and would have won by much further had he had a clearer passage. So really good performance there. Before that, really disappointing at Ascot, 16th to 22. But prior to that, another astonishing run at Newbury back in May, first of 20. That was just in a Class 4, but he won by a street, won by 3 lengths, and really was east towards the end. Comfortable win for him that day, and looked to be one of the most exciting performances I've seen in quite some time. So I feel, while this race is clearly the toughest race he will have gone in, or he will be going in, it is, especially with those two, the aforementioned two favourites of the race, Ruling Court and the Lion in Winter, at 25 to 1. Just feel there's some value there, especially if you can get some extra places. I certainly feel there's a lot of potential in Mr. Chaplin, given his ability, his ability to have such a change in gears and such a great turn of foot. Certainly 25 to 1. I will be having a go at that price. Best of luck if you're having a bet on the 225 at York. So next we move to the 3 o'clock at York on Wednesday. Really interesting race, this one. The Great Voltage Stakes. I think it will be a great race, this one. 1 mile 4 is the distance. Los Angeles, King's Gambit, Illinois, all up there. Los Angeles looks set to go off favourite. Around 6 to 4 at the time of recording. King's Gambit 5 to 2. Very interesting runner. Certainly should go well. But I like each way value again in this race. Dear Mile going for here. Really nice run in the Derby actually by Dear Mile. Finished off well towards the end. Finished 4th at 25 to 1. Certainly feel that will be his distance. A decent win back out earlier in the year at Windsor. That was a much obviously lower quality race, but he ran really well there that day at odds on and won the race comfortably. But yeah, I thought his race in the Derby was pretty decent. We haven't seen him since, and certainly feel that he's got the ability and potential to improve on that run that we saw last time out. I think the York track will suit him, and certainly feel that type of price he can certainly sneak into the top 2 or top 3 if he can get an extra place. Certainly like this race. It's going to be really interesting, this race, actually. I think tactically it'll be fascinating. I think when you have a much fewer runners, a much smaller field, tactics will be interesting. But certainly feel that Dear Mile can put in a performance. Jim Crowley set to take the ride. So best of luck if you're having a bet at 3 o'clock on Wednesday at York. So York, 3:35 Wednesday, Judmonte International. What a race this is going to be. I previewed this race on a separate video, link below. But I want to put up these 2 selections that I'm going for in this race. Alflaila, I always say it wrong, 10 to 1 each way. I think his record at York is absolutely outstanding. He's won his last 3 at the track, and before that was second. Really good win last time out. It didn't particularly look like he was going to win. That was in the Skybet York Stakes, by the way, back last month, end of July. Yeah, it didn't look like he was going to win, but just continued to stay on and beat King's Gambit by half a length in the end. It was a really tightly fought race, that one. Certainly feel at 10 to 1. Given his record, given how much he likes this track, and given his attitude as a horse as well, certainly feel he can go well here at York and pick up a place or better. Of course, City of Troy, everyone's going to be talking about that horse. Currently evens in the market, so he has gone the other way. A bit of a drift on City of Troy, which I'm not that surprised at, given the level of competition in this race this year. And one we're going for at a big price, another drifter actually, which is quite interesting. Zarakem, 25 to 1. Really like this horse to outrun those odds. I do feel he's got the ability to do so. I think he had a really good run last time out. We just discussed this in my last video at Ascot. really was unlucky not to beat Auguste Rodin. That was in the Prince of Wales Stakes. Finished really with a flurry right there, and was unlucky to get boxed in a little bit in that race. So 25 to 1, I feel. Yes, there's a lot of quality on show in this race, but Zarakem feels way overpriced in my opinion, and certainly worthy of a little each way punt in the Judmonte. Fascinating race. Let me know what you're getting on. I do think this race is just super interesting, with City of Troy there around evens. Ambiente Friendly, there's been nibbles for Ambiente Friendly this week. Of course, we've mentioned Calandagan, really interesting horse. Blue Stocking, bit on the drift, don't particularly like the look of Blue Stocking, understand that. Ghostwriter, a few people will like that horse. Can he live up to his potential? Not so far this year, but maybe this is the race for him, we will see. But those are my two selections for the Judmonte on Wednesday. Right, let's turn our attention to later in the week now, and to the feature race on Thursday, 3:35 Ladies' Day. It's the Yorkshire Oaks. Fabulous race, this one this year. Queen of the Pride heads the market around about 9 to 4 currently. You've got Content in there. Emily Upjohn, I'm sure, will be popular as well. But we're going right to the other end of the market. 25 to 1 Port Fairy. Like the sound of her chances at such a big price for this race. Last time out of the Curragh, not so good. That was in the Irish Oaks. Faded away and finished 13 of 14 that day. But prior to that, really nice ride at Ascot at the Royal Meeting. That was in the Ribblesdale Stakes, winning by a neck. Finishing off really quite nicely. 12 to 1 that day. This is a harder race, but certainly feel there's some potential there. Prior to that, good second at Chester at the festival there back in May, and a win over in Ireland at the start of April as well. Certainly feel Port Fairy, she's very interesting price there, 25 to 1. Aidan O'Brien trained. I like the chance of her outrunning those odds in the big one on Thursday. Best of luck if you're having a bet on Thursday. Next up, we go to the 3:35 on Friday. It's the big one. It's the Nunthorpe Fast and Furious. This race is going to be really interesting set of runners in this one. Asfoora heads the market 2 to 1. You've got Big Evs in there around 7 to 2. But one we like a bit of an each way price. Bradsell 8 to 1. I really do like this horse. He's performed pretty well recently as well. A good win over in France at Deauville back at the start of the month last year. Had some good wins, including had some good runs rather, including success at Ascot at the Royal Meeting. That was in the King's Stand Stakes over the same distance. And in this actual race at York, the Nunthorpe finished 3rd of 16. Had a decent run that day. It was the race won by Living the Dream, if you remember, at 28 to 1. Highfield Princess was up there as well in 2nd, and Bradsell was in 3rd. But a very decent run by him that day. Certainly feel he's got capability of improvement as well. Certainly not shown in his most recent run, and was pretty consistent last year. Only one really bad run for him, and that was over in Ireland towards the end of the season. So certainly feel Bradsell has got every chance. A previous York winner as well, albeit that was over 6 furlongs back in 2022. I do like his price here, 8 to 1 for an each way bet. So best of luck if you're having a bet on the Nunthorpe at York. In terms of the Ebor on Saturday, still going to wait for the field to be confirmed on that one. If Ziggy gets a run, quite like the look of Ziggy. but we'll take a look at that race in a separate video. Anyway, best of luck if you're having a bet at York this week. Really is a great week this week. And then in a couple of weeks' time, it'll be the St Leger, so the flat racing keeps coming this summer. And let's hope we can find some winners this week rather. Best of luck to you all if you're having a bet. And speak again soon. Let me know what you're on in the comments. Take care all.